Salakia. Salakia had to restart it. It says, it says it's an act as necessary buffer helping individuals navigate social challenges, set boundaries, and pursue ambitious goals, ultimately serving as a tool for motivation and personal achievement. Key positive aspects of a healthy ego include confidence and self assurance, enables trust in one's ability to achieve goals and navigate challenges, reducing feelings of inadequacy. Now, we as believers, we know that it's certain things, and that's the spirit because I was listening to the elder bro speak on that. He was like, he said, the mindset of it's the Lord's will anyway is not a positive mindset to have. You know, the Lord, you know, he was talking about setting routines and whatnot. That's why certain brothers read when they first get up. They do certain things. Certain brothers get their lessons out the way when they first get up. Every man's household is different. You know what I mean? But you got to figure out your routine. Because the routine teaches discipline. So again, he was just saying how even though everything bends to the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I mean, you might intend to do a lesson early in the morning. That necessarily might not be the case. Because it's the Lord's will being done. It says motivation and success drives the desire to perform better, win, achieve, acting as an incentive to overcome obstacles. Identity and boundaries, which that's a key one because once you know that you're an Israelite and you know that you pretty much been tried and tested and went through your different trials and tribulations, the Lord will put you through something to show you something. Even with the silence, I know we ask certain questions. You got certain brothers that ask their tribe and then get told an answer. You know what I mean? And sometimes the Lord doesn't give you an answer at all. But that's a testing of your faith. Maybe think about Yahweh Shai and Israel. Remember Israel used to pray to the Most High to be delivered from the enemy. And the Lord would sit back and watch the hell be put on them, and then he would eventually raise up a judge. Yahweh Shai asked for the Lord to take the cup away from him and got nothing but silence. It says resilience provides the mental strength to bounce back from failure or setbacks, viewing them as part of a learning process. It made me think about Elijah again. Remember when Elijah was so weak in the spirit and there was a low moment? I have a lot of low moments, and I'm trying to work through them the best of my ability, because of the fact, I won't consider myself soft, but true manhood, like men suffer in silence. Like they say, gangsters move in silence, men suffer in silence, I used to watch my daddy suffer, and I could clearly see he's suffering, just like I could see the former head of Mississippi. I could see him in pain. And I always amazed at that because I'm like, well, how can I see him in pain? Y'all don't. And it wasn't like, he probably wasn't saying nothing about it, but you could see, I don't know. Maybe that's a gift. I don't know. Yeah. I can empathize with people more so than. Now, the thing is this. It's another whole spirit in here. You know what I'm saying? So, I've lost a lot, had to give a lot up, And we all about to give up more than what we've already given up. So, I know how to turn the switch on and off, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that's why the Lord got spirits jumping on, particular, people that's around me. Because I'm no nonsense or certain shit, I'll walk away from a bitch in a minute, you know what I'm saying? I remember the elder bro talking about some, because, again, when I had my children, right after I had my children, I came into the truth. So I didn't understand, this part of the suffering of, and the Lord tried me with the woman, which I didn't really care about. Of course I had love for her. She almost died with my children. But it also showed me the nature of a woman. She suffered all that to eventually leave. She suffered the homelessness. The Lord blessed us and got us off the street. You know, and I remember the one brother that pretty much, you know, it's a particular brother. I know a lot of brothers. It's a particular video that he did. I forgot his Hebrew name, but particular video that he did. That a lot he got, you know, got a lot of views. But he was the brother that went to jail, but he was from Cleveland, you know. And he the one that broke that. He's the only one that told me that. You know, he told me pretty much the curse don't kick in until you get her pregnant. Now, it necessarily don't have to kick in when you get her pregnant, because some brothers, that's not their lot. They gonna have Eve over here, or maybe multiple Eves. I mean, you know. But some men, the Lord gonna test by taking your women from you. And I know a few brothers that went through that. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? You know, again, I used to cry about a lot of the shit. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna say cry, complain. You know what I mean? You know, it's easy to say I'm gonna suffer this cheerfully. I watched Jake that's always grinning, but when he was going through some shit, he wasn't grinning at all. You saw how much of a anger or a temper he had. You get what I'm saying? So it's easy to say that shit when you not the one going through it. It's a whole different, you know, thing when you the one going through it, catching the hell. And he wanted to say when you reach a point of wanting to give in, you know, the Lord, you know, once you build that relationship with you, because we all get low in the spirit. He said that's when the Lord's grace kicks in. And he said, grace is the hand of the Most High pulling you up out of that pit. Not because you earned it, but because he loves you. And the elect are loved. What really caught my attention is he said, if you got God, you got everything you need. You know, the world fades. When doors close, when people leave, the Most High remains. You know, scriptures talk about the scriptures talk about you know, a brother's born for adversity. But in Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 21, it says, there's one sticks closer than a brother. And who is that? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Matter of fact, I'm going to get it. Look at Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 24. And it reads, a man that have friends must show himself friendly. And there's a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. So a man that only got Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, he can't, you know, again, you know, like the individual quoted, he said, when people leave, the Most High remains. I've literally experienced that. I don't deal with nobody else. I mean, I deal with the woman that the Lord gave me, and I had to correct my thinking because I made a statement prior, and I was like, you know, to be truthful, she's like my Eve. But then the elder said something, and I had to actually like, I had to agree with. These ain't our women on this side. As much as she can be a helpmate, she also can bring, you know, I've seen spirits jump on her and everything. And I came to the conclusion, ain't no point of trying to have no woman on the side. Yeah, I use her as a helpmate, you know, which a woman is supposed to be a helpmate. She's supposed to be a help and not a hindrance or a hurt. I just heard the elder say that. He said, yeah, a lot of you women that shitted on us and left us, man, y'all gonna catch holy hellfire. I think about their mother, and I don't wish no bad on her. You know what I mean? I just don't want nothing to do with you. Fuck is the point of you calling and you ain't about to try to help me with these children? You just want to speak to them. Like, what kind of retarded shit is that? The fuck? Well, I got a woman that actually willing to do what you ain't doing. And that says a lot about these women. Like, that's like, ugh. So, remind you of the chick off a Book of Eli. I can see her being put through a situation like that. You want to be a hoe, so the Lord gonna make you a hoe for real. You know, you got accounts in the Bible where a woman been fucked to the point of dying. So, you know, I thought of a few scriptures, and like I said, that really caught my attention. And then, you know, I thought about the ego. And again, well, like the elder brother was going into the ego, which it can have positive and negative aspects to it. Again, the men had so much confidence because of the fact they knew the Lord was supping with them. You know, You see Jake being confident now. You hear the elder, oh yeah, we got the truth. They ain't got the truth. Right. They say it confidently because they know the Lord's supping with them. And again, you're going to need that self-esteem, that positive self-esteem when we about to go through this persecution. Again, if you up there second guessing and shit like that, and that's why I didn't hesitate. You know how much the shit the Lord took me through? And no, it's not fun losing all these jobs, but then, at the same time, it's the Lord's will. And also, I never doubt that he ain't going to take care of me. The Lord been taking care of me since I came into the truth. Has he taken me through some things? Yeah. And like I say again, I wish I'd have looked at the positive aspects of these things. Because a lot of Jakes wouldn't have did what I did. A lot of Jakes would have held that bitterness inside. Now, I can't say I'm completely over the shit. You know what I mean? When you take time to think about how the Lord did it, you got, but that was the will of the Lord. At the end of the day, I ain't even building the case. I hear what the elder be saying. I hear a lot of stuff. What's funny? Oftentimes, what makes me smile, just like that video did, what makes me smile is oftentimes I'll hear something or watch a video and I'm gonna make a lesson on that. And before I can do it, the beloved elder apostle do a video on it. Case in point, what's that chick name? I don't know if I introduced her or what, but she be having a lot of people ranting, or she be showing a lot of videos where people just catching L's and getting their ass whipped. I know I did a few lessons on her. I was gonna do a lesson on her because it was talking about the food. And I'm at work, and the elder do a quick little video of it. I was like, that's a spirit. But the elder always, it just seemed like it lined up a whole bunch of, and based on just that little thing, as much as I'm catching hell or, I was trying to figure out why, I like to believe that that's the Lord giving me hope that he's still supping with me. And if that's the case, again, I could feel the spirit through brothers. Again, I could feel when brothers, salute me or, what I mean? I pray brothers, continue to, I don't, say that. I would never do frickin' frack. You know what I mean? Yeah, they ain't got enough money over here. Fuck, I turned down money before. Niggas sell themselves for show. And you selling yourself when the money ain't worth shit, like you retarded. But, to each his own, you know what I mean? Like, everybody worship something, right? What Joshua say, me and my household, we going to worship Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So I got some scriptures. Lord willingly, this is edifying. I can barely see. That's how tired I am. Hebrews chapter 11, we all know we go into the faith and you name all these different individuals. And based on the faith, that's why they, trusted in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, because the Lord supped with them all in different, the Lord supped with all of them, you know what I mean, in his particular way. So they trusted and believed in him. And we're going to have that type of faith in the days to come. This is the book of Psalms 118. And verse 4, and it says, let them now that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, let them now that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua say that his mercy endure forever. Even to just wake us up to this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is mercy. Verse 5, I called upon the Lord in distress. The Lord answered me and set me in a large place. Verse 6, the point, the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is on my side. I will not fear. What can man do unto me? Verse 7, the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua taketh my part with them that help me. Therefore shall I see my desire upon them that hate me. Verse 8, the point. I'm gonna go to 9. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. Verse 9, it is better to trust in the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua than to put confidence in princes. And these people are saying that. It's coming out that these people all worship Satan. You guys, so many people. That's how you know something major about to happen. They expose all these people. What's the next step? And it's pretty much a shaking up to get these people emotional to start the civil war. Again, you got people that have the mindset. Even Tony Montana, what he say? No women, no children, right? That's why you got niggas in the street that say that. No women, no children. But like Woody said, he said, nigga, there ain't no really innocence in the street. What you talking about? It's always casualties. What the fuck? You know what I mean? The dude, Honeycomb Brazy, you know, he literally, they would shoot at your peoples. They know where you stay, they shooting at your peoples. But then he wondered why they killed his grandfather and grandmother. Just a nigga. Niggas gotta go. It's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 29 that reads, it reads, happy art thou, O Israel, who's like unto thee. O people saved by the Lord, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency. And thine enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. You know, this devil is trying to accuse us before Yahweh Shemel Shai, but this devil is going to be brought low. You know, this devil is being exposed right now. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 121. This is one of my favorite scriptures. It says, a song of degrees, and it says, I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. Verse 2, my help cometh from the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Verse 5, the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is thy helper, so like he is thy keeper. The Lord, how did it do that, man? Like, the Lord is thy keeper. The Lord Yahweh Shem Shai is thy shade upon the right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord Yahweh Shem Shai shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. And the Lord is going to preserve his elect, you know. I was listening to the video that the elder brother did. You know, it's funny because I did a lesson about, you know, pretty much them purchasing all that land for, and I don't think it was just, what do you say, 90,000 acres, but I know they purchased, I think I want to say it's like 18 buildings or 20 buildings or something like that. And some can hold between 1,000 and 1,500, and like 8 of them can hold 10,000 people. And if you don't think that this is going to involve you so-called blacks and Hispanics.
Attention veteran, a free will kit valued at $500 is available.
You blacks and Hispanics, then you are sadly mistaken. You know, this is all to, you know, pretty much persecute the Israelites. But ultimately, you know, the scripture says, fear not him that could destroy both, destroy the body, but destroy him that, Salakia. Fear not him that could destroy the body, but fear him that could destroy both mind and soul and spirit. It's Matthew chapter 10 and verse 28, and it reads, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father, but the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear ye not, therefore ye are of more value than many sparrows. And that's why the elder brother was going into pretty much about how, you know, you got some individuals that's going to basically have to give up the ghost, you know, being martyrs for Yahweh Shem Yahshua's sake. But if that's your lot, you are the elect, the Lord gonna put a spirit on you to be able to endure that death, you know, gracefully, you know, and great boldness. You know, I forgot what society, you know, I think Moab believed in it. A lot of societies, though, like the Spartans, you know, they wanted to die a good death, you know. No fear, you know, because, you know, again, men get more edification out of a man suffering in silence, you know, the stoicism. And again, I learned that from the elders. As much as I would hear it, I never looked into it. And then when I try to start getting into it, you know, I'll be so busy. But, you know, that's not even really an excuse, you know. I got to do a whole, I got to do a lot of prioritization, you know. Lord, based on I ain't gonna say the Lord could do something to make you have to reevaluate some shit. Like I got put in a situation I wasn't even intoxicated, and yet still, it's funny. I ain't about to go into detail, but literally the Lord put me in a fucked up situation. But at the same time, He showed mercy and grace and all that put me through the situation. I'm always going through something, but at the same time, I never took the time to really meditate on the fact of, you know, why is the Lord taking me through this? You know, instead of looking at the cup being half empty, looking at it, all things, like I heard the elder speak on that. He was like, if you make character or break character, what I mean, all of them are lessons. It's not really L's, it's lessons within lessons for real. And like I said again, when the Lord isolates you, He's preparing you. And I had to think about that because, like I said again, I literally walked this. But like when I went to my testimony, the Lord made me homeless for 4 years. And then, like I said, me knowing something about numerology to a degree, or gematria, because numerology is different from gematria. It's mercy. I was like, damn, And now all that time I'm homeless, I'm coming around brothers. I think I was part of the camp by the time, yeah. Because brothers came over to my house when I got in the house. Well, I got an apartment. I used to call it Demon Central. And Jake didn't understand what I was talking about, but then when he had to go work in that building, he quit that shit. Fear ye not, therefore ye are of more value than many sparrows. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. So if you're doing the will and the work of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, He got you. And those that's gonna, do like freaking frack and all these, these different camps that once said the name and no longer call on the name, you know what I mean? Again, the Lord can do anything, you know what I mean? Like, again, not to be bragging on nothing. I be thinking I'm motivated, you know what I mean? Like, how long has it been since I've been amongst the camp? I mean, like, I think back, like, during the summertime or a little bit, like, in August, that'll be like 2 years, right? If I'm not mistaken, you know what I mean? Like, I know my everything ain't running together all quick like that. Like, I don't think it's been just no months since he came down here. I think a whole summer went by. Right. All I gotta do is look at my videos. But I know I left during like maybe like August, September, because it was still summertime when the devil came. Or I ain't gonna say the devil, the demon. Well, yeah, he adverse to the truth. Okay, so I can barely see. So Salakia, bear with me. Read that. Isaiah chapter 54, and verse 17, and it reads, "No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua." I had two more, but I ain't gonna get them. Like I was gonna quote Psalms 27 and Psalm 64. All those are scriptures that are good for trusting in the Lord. So I'm gonna end it with Isaiah, so I can barely see. I got like 4 hours of sleep yesterday. So Salakia. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 10. The point. I'm gonna start up. Isaiah 41:8. But thou art so like it, but thou Israel art my servant, Jacob whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham my friend. Thou whom I have taken from the ends of the earth and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, Thou art my servant, I have chosen thee and not cast thee away. Verse 10, the point, fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy power. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. And that's the mindset you got to have, positive reinforcement, you know what I mean? Now, the thing is, like I said, I explained to you why, like, I battle, because again, but at the same time, I watched the Lord deal, what I mean? Again, I'm just grateful that I got to see all this, Like the elder said, we literally, brothers I heard sit up there and say, we close, we close. It's only, again, I'm speaking as a man, I don't know the mind of the Most High, but I will say this. I can't see them bringing all that military, back to America. They sitting off that coast for a reason because the Lord is about to shake this shit up for what? Well, how many times he did it before? This dog trying to get out the cage. And I look forward to Yahweh Shem Yahshua shaking the whole earth. What's that in Jeremiah? What's that, Jeremiah 25? The earth gonna shake to and fro like a drunkard. If I stand correct. So yeah, I'm gonna end the lesson there. Lord willingly, you got some edification out of it. If you're a so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Central Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the law, statute, commandments of your power, his true name in the Paleo Hebrew, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshua, or you will be destroyed. With that, I want to give all praise, all honor, all glory to call Elohim La Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai, Ba'ashem Kodash, double honors to the elders, to the apostles I learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and freedom to do so now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and Aquat, the listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you I say shalom. Till next time, Lord willingly, shalom, shalom, Kwame Yasharala, and Mawaf Lababal.